Welcome to another episode of Historia. Tonight we have Chrissy Campos. She's a YouTube content content creator. Oh my, oh my, that was okay, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, welcome to the show, Chrissy. Happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so what I want to begin for my listeners is to have you introduce yourself. Please tell us who you are. Tell us a little more about who you are and what are you working on today.
Hmm. Hi, I'm Chrissy. Currently, I'm a content writer for a digital marketing company. Just a small plug, Bright Sand Designs, if anybody's interested. I really love where I work, so I really like to promote them because yeah, it's hard to find like a good culture sometimes. So besides content writing, I make videos on YouTube, uh, mostly about books and usually also about coffee.
Yes. I've
Yep.
seen that on your YouTube videos that aside from books, you're also going for coffee. You like drinking coffee. It's like a part of your life already. Now, I want to ask you about your favorite cup of coffee.
It depends on the coffee shop actually. If you know how there are milk tea people who are like not every milk tea tastes the same.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you know you know.
Correct.
It depends. Some places just like regular brewed with some milk is fine. But there are other places that have specialty coffee, which you can tell they really take it seriously. So you want to try what they make, not just the regular kinds, you know? So I would
Correct.
really say it depends on the place and not to be to experiment.
Indeed. And what I'm fascinated about coffee shops is their unique design when they make coffee, right? Especially my favorite cup of coffee is a caramel type. Uh, and there's a design on top of it, like they would put shapes or any kind of designs, or it's fun. It's fascinating and it's heartwarming. Perfect day, perfect way to start the day. Right?
It's
Okay.
cute. Uh,
Now, next is I want you to describe a day in your life. Like, what does Crazy do behind the camera?
well, um, since I'm a content writer, so I basically get up in the morning if they have anything to do, errands or something. I run that. Sometimes I work out. Um, and then after lunch is usually when I start work. So then, I have to have coffee, second dose, and I just start writing. It takes a lot to be so many different voices, especially when there are different clients. But I think it's pretty cool though to challenge myself that way, especially since I used to love writing before, and now this is just like a leveled up kind of version. And it helps that I had mentorship going through it.
It's great. When it
Yeah.
comes to writing, I can really understand how tedious it is. I mean, it's time consuming when you really think about it. Especially if you're writing articles, or it's even more time consuming. It's if it's writing stories. I've I've I've, I've basically I've written an article before, and it got published to a digital magazine, and it took me a lot of time. I even used apps to just improve my writing a little bit, so I can really understand how hard it is. And also, if your work gets published, it felt so rewarding. The personal opinion for this is it's so rewarding. Oh my god! I can already see the fruits of my labor here. Right? So yeah, it is a really fantastic experience to write stories or to write articles or any kind of writing, even just diary. Now, I want to go with your origin story. What is the start of Chrissy Campus, or what is the start of Christiana? What was your early life, and what made you fall in love with books?
Uh, well, my parents fell in love and they got married. Just kidding. Okay, well, let's not start from there. Um, so I don't know. Me and my sisters, I have two younger sisters. We kind of grew up in a pretty conservative family. Since our parents are actually ministers, so we had a lot of the only these shows are okay. These aren't, because they're adults, so they don't want to watch kid stuff. So they don't. It's like what they know is okay, then they'll let you watch it. And then, but then with books, they were always just there. But most of the books we had at home, they're not kids books. They're like adult books and stuff. So it's when you're a kid, it's not enchanting to look at books without pictures. And then after a certain point, since my parents, neither of them were actually readers, so it wasn't really ingrained in us to read. But by the time I hit like 12, I was like really interested in history. I don't know where that came from, but I was just like, I want to know. And for some reason, I took a deep dive into like 16th century England and like, Queen Elizabeth and stuff. So I was like, this is so cool. I have to know more. And then it turns out there were like fiction books for kids and all of that. So um, that's when it started. And then I haven't left since.
Wow.
So it expanded into different genres, different um, lengths of books, everything.
Yes, I can also relate to your, on that moment when you fell in love, when you fell in love with books. By that time, I was in high school, and uh, we were in the seminary. We are in the seminary, so we have a lot of other activities. You can do sports during your free time. You can do um, any kind of activities. And for some reason, uh, fo- I got hooked up with books because my friends, my classmates, were also reading books, and I also got fascinated by it. I mean, I fell in love with it during my high school years, but now it's not as much as before because I kind of transitioned into consuming video content. But the fact that you fell in love with the books, it's just so fascinating how your mind, your imagination, when you become interested in something, your imagination goes wider, right? Especially when you were reading books, you thought that there's just, oh, it's boring, it's just all text, all books. But eventually, as you go through the story, you can imagine what's happening. Oh my, like you can even the picture of that scenario, the scene, the exact thing that they were doing. You can even compare them to the movies, right? For example, there were
I believe
cutscenes
that's true.
that weren't able to make it to the movies. You can definitely tell, right? So that's impressive if, especially if you're a book lover. Now, tell us about the moment when you decided to become a YouTuber. What made you say, "Oh, I'm going to make videos on the platform"?
Uh,
What was that moment?
it wasn't really like I'm gonna be a YouTuber. It was more of, you're just like on YouTube and you're like scrolling, right? And then I see this girl and she had like a video and she's like book haul. I'm like, what? You can do that? Like you can talk about books? on YouTube. Like I didn't know that. I thought it was just like makeup and hair and cooking and stuff, and like those occasional viral videos that are like weird. But yeah, and then so then I saw her like hold up different books and explain what they were, and then I'm like, hey, I can do that, and no, not that well apparently. Um, because there's and when I'm an introvert, so it was just like, yeah, it's you in your room talking to a camera, but like hundreds of people maybe in the future will see that. So it's kind of like being in public without being in public. But then at the same time I was like, you know what, this is something that I can do, and then if I don't like doing it anymore, I can just stop, and hopefully no one will notice. But then I don't know. The community was so nice because the booktube community on YouTube is so small and it's so niche that everybody really does try to help each other out. They go to each other's videos, leave comments, they tell each other what they think about books. So it just really kind of drives you to read more. And that was actually a time when I was the most productive at reading because it drove me to be like, I can do that too. But then at the same time, there's also do you know how every place has a culture, every ecosystem has its own culture?
Yep.
So then it was kind of like a drive to be like, I need to read that many books. But then I realized I'm a slow reader. So it's best not to stress out about that. Like, just read it on your own time. But anyway, back to your question. That's when I realized I'm like, yeah, I have a niche and I can talk about it. If there's anything I know, it's books. And if I don't know, I can just, research it. So I did. And then eventually it was about experimenting with lighting and like audio. What sucks is audio because we're in the Philippines and you know how hot it is here.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can hear the aircon in the back, and then it's like, oh, you have to turn it off. And then in the middle of all of that, you're just like sweating buckets.
Uh,
That.
yeah. Indeed. Even right now, I even have my electric fan here, and I'm kind of sweating a little bit. Yeah, it just sucks, really. And also, when it comes to the audio, if you really want to have your better audio quality for your room, and you don't have much resources, you really have to improvise. Like
Mm,
putting egg trays on your room. Right? Putting it, I've seen those people. They put egg trays just to make it soundproof, their room soundproof, and have the audio quality better. Also, in my case, I even bought a mic just to improve my audio quality. And even if I had the mic, it didn't do well until I installed another software that would let me edit my audio, to improve a little bit on the quality of my audio. So if you can tell, there's if I speak a little far, you might not hear what I'm
uh,
saying. Yeah. So
yeah.
I
It.
have to be really close to the mic to speak very well. I mean, for my listeners to hear what I'm actually saying, and I want to know about the most fun part. What is the most fun part of your process when you're doing videos?
Mm, I used to do this thing called Vlogmas, but I mean, pretty much almost everyone who has a camera on YouTube does it, right? Um, the best part was documenting my sister's wedding. And just like, well, not the whole thing, like I'm not her videographer or anything like that, but like, just the little snippets of our day leading up to the big day, that those little memories that you forget because it's overshadowed by the other bigger memories. So it's like the details, and it was just so nice. Like when I would watch it back, I'm like, oh, I forgot we did that, oh, we went there. So in a sense, it's part entertainment for other people, but it's also selfish in the sense that it's a visual diary to go back to. That is the best part. And also making friends on BookTube. Like that's how I met, our mutual friend.
Yeah.
the
Indeed. Indeed, you're right. Because I would say, when doing my podcast, when I make content, for example, when I run out of anything to say, or when I run out of anything to post, I don't know what to post, I have no idea. Uh, my what I would do then is to document what I'm doing, right? If you can't create content, this is one word that uh I've put into my mind from, I would call this my distant mentor Gary Vaynerchuk. Would say that document and not create. So if you don't know how to create videos, if you don't know how to do stuff, just document what you're doing. You can picture what you're working on and then put some captions on it, and that's it. That's documenting. And that makes your life a little bit easier. Right? If you want to go through the
hmm,
process of making videos, or doing your podcast, or doing making YouTube content on your books. So what I really admire about you as well is your consistency. I've been looking at your YouTube videos, and I see that it even reached like 6 years, like 6 to 7 years. It's quite a long time, and it's very hard to sustain. From my experience as a podcaster, it's very hard to have that consistency, especially if you're doing it every week. I really
hmm.
admire that about you. So, and what I can see as well is that you have no plans of stopping at all, right? Like, what is your biggest secret to staying consistent, to having that consistency?
Mm, it's good to have a schedule and like plans for what you want to do, and at the times for when you want to do it. Which I mean, I kind of was implementing that before, but now more so, that I'm in digital marketing, it makes more sense. Like you plan ahead, you look at the calendar and you see like what's the holiday, so then you schedule something for that. But then of course, burnout happens. It's a real thing, especially how, um, at least for, let's say, this is just for the booktube niche. Um, we would have particular tags or events, and that are like time sensitive. So sometimes I would be a bit late, and sometimes, because we don't have access to public libraries the way that they do, um, I would feel a bit left behind because we are in a third world country. So you also have to find a way to make it fun for yourself. Like sometimes you can catch up on things, and sometimes you can't. So when you can't, like, don't beat yourself up about it, just move on to the next. And then, um, towards 2018, the middle or to the end, as you notice that I didn't really do a lot of actual booktube videos. It just became like monthly vlogs. Yeah, because I decided not to force myself. Like if I have something to say or content to put out, I'll do it. But if it feels forced, then it's not fun. And then you're just frustrated in the doing of it. So then you don't want to do it anymore. At least that's for me. So you have to find ways to make it fun for yourself and just stick to what you can commit to. Don't overcommit. I mean, it's
Correct.
great to challenge yourself, but like, there are just times when it's like, don't. Because then you don't come out with the end product that you'd like simply because you're frustrated, or you're tired.
Correct. I would also apply this to my process. Burnout is definitely real. In my case, I would every day, every single day, I would post a lot of content across all my social media platforms, And even recently, I got into TikTok, and yeah, recently, I mean, before during that time, there are times really that, oh, burnout is real. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to do anything, or oh, no, next time, right? So what I would do is, good thing those platforms have these creator studios where you can post content ahead of time, or you can schedule content ahead of time. For example, if I'm feeling it, if I feel like I want to make content, I'm gonna do a lot of it, right? And then I will schedule it for a day next week, or it. There was even the time that it even reached a month. So uh, the rest of my work is like, whew, it's already it's already I'm already feel relaxed. I'm already feel relaxed at that time, so I wouldn't get burnout. But there are really times that, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Like there are times that you really want to quit, but then, oh no, I have already started this. No, not not this time, right? So it's real. It's real. Burnout is real. Now,
Yeah.
as a content creator and a book lover for years and years, what is something you've learned from doing YouTube, or from learning books that you haven't learned anywhere else? Like, for example, in school, you haven't learned in school, that you only learned in those processes.
Well, for one, being in front of the camera, because you know how it's different when you take a selfie, it's different when you have to talk. And then you realize all of your verbal tics, like you say a lot, or like, so I'm like, oh, when I would watch myself back, it was just not, it was not. And then I got annoyed at myself because I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why do you keep saying that? You know? So it's like you become more self-aware and how can you can also be better. Um, and just kind of being a little bit more confident in what you decide to put out. So, and like your own opinion as well. I would say that's about it. And also, I think, no, that's it. I was like, is there anything up there? Nope.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to fillers, like um like, like the word like,
Uh-huh.
I would commit a lot of it in my podcast. I would edit a lot of it just to remove, I would spend a lot of my time just to cut those out. And
But in the process, it
it's a
makes you
tedious
better,
work.
no?
Yes,
Oh, in the process, it makes you better though. Like you become more aware of speaking properly.
correct.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yes. So even now, I would I would also become aware that I'm about to say that word again. Right? Please stop.
You
Okay.
were gonna say like, weren't you?
Yes. I'm
Knew
gonna
it.
say like, or just because you also reminded reminded me of doing that, of mentioning those words. I'm my mind again goes, no, not this time. Okay, so since you're reading a lot of books already, uh, uh you're having these kind of niches with fantasy, we have love stories, we have sci-fi. What about your favorite genre?
Mm,
Like,
okay.
yeah,
Mm,
can you tell
that's
us more
easy.
about the genre?
Historical fiction. forever.
Yeah. Oh, and I think there's a little bit of uh, biopic there as well, right? If you're talking about historical
Mm-mm. Yeah.
things.
But then that's the thing, you it's never entirely accurate because every historian has their own or historian author because you can't for writing historical fiction you end up becoming a historian. So everybody's got their own interpretation of like this blank moment that no one knows what happened, you know what I mean? Or why this public figure made that decision. So it's it's interesting to see different people's takes and at the same time it's comforting to know the story ahead of time. I don't know, that's just me. Because before, if, for some people, they can't do it. But I used to, when I used to start reading, I would flip to the end just to see what would happen, and then I would wonder how it would make sense.
Oh, it's like you're reading. It's like you're watching anime and then you're going back to manga because I'm that kind of guy. You know, I would uh, do those visual books and animated films. I'm that kind of guy. So it's like watching your anime first and then going back to manga. So I think
Mm.
that's it. And all right, this is gonna be an interesting part because I know as you read a lot of books, there's gonna be a ton of quotes, famous lines that characters would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, name one quote or line from books that inspired you throughout your life.
Mm, 1 second. I actually thought I didn't have one until just now. I realized what it is. But it's actually something that a lot of people, or rather people who read this book, they they know this one because it's science fiction. If you know Dune by Frank Herbert,
Uh, the author kind of familiar, but
um,
I haven't read the story nor
oh,
heard a lot or
you're
any.
missing out.
Yeah,
Half
I
your
think I'm
life is
missing.
gone. It's gone. It's flew away from you. You need to start. So it's Dune by Frank Herbert. It's science fiction. It's basically the godfather of science fiction, and if you read it, you'll find a lot of similarities to Game of Thrones. But this came first, but in space. So yeah, yeah. And then the movie, the newer one is coming out. I think with Jason Momoa and Timothy Chalamet. But there's an older version. I forgot the author, and I really hope I don't get crucified for forgetting the author. I mean, for forgetting the director. But anyway, so the quote is I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
Love it.
Yeah, that is the best quote ever.
100%.
Ever.
Like, yes, it's fear. It's fear indeed. Right? It's the
Mm,
killer. Like, it's what's holding you back. Personally, it's what's holding me back from what I want to do for some reason. In some cases, right?
mhm,
In some aspects of my life, it's fear. Uh, there's nothing holding me back. It's your own insecurity. Like, what would happen if those kinds of questions? So definitely, it is. It's fear, and it's hard to overcome. So yeah.
yeah.
Right. About your favorite books. What's your uh, favorite book, or what books would you recommend for somebody who is new to reading books?
Hmm. It depends also what stage of life you're in. You know, because like I could recommend this really great children's series, but you're an adult. But I loved it as a child. So for kids, for me, what really got me into reading more was The Edge Chronicles by Chris Riddell and Paul Stewart. Um, I actually forgot to bring them here, but it's a really great fantasy about. 'Cause I'm all for like academia type stuff, so it's academia based in a fantasy world, and I'm like, ugh, yes. Another one I'd recommend is The Magicians. So if you've read The Magicians by Lev Grossman, there's also a TV show. Um, and if you've read The Chronicles of Narnia,
Oh,
mixed with a little bit of Hogwarts for adults, for adult millennials, then yeah, I think you might like it.
yeah. I think also one of the classics that many people read is Harry Potter. Harry
Oh
Potter.
yeah, I wasn't allowed.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
my.
that's why. Like I read it like later on in life as an adult.
Gosh.
So I don't have the same nostalgia of like I grew up with Harry Potter. I'm like, well, you did. Good for you.
Yeah. And also, but what really got me into books is the Dan Brown stories.
Ooh,
Uh,
I have not read him yet. Honestly, I haven't.
Like
How is he?
it's actually I forgot most of the stories because it's uh I was still in high school, but I've read Da Vinci Code, Lost Symbol, um, Angels and Demons. Uh, I forgot the other books, but I think he has 7 books in total, and
Hmm.
like 5 of them I've read. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like uh, Dan Brown series, the Wrong Bird, the I forgot now.
Robert Ludlum?
No, no, no. The protagonist is Robert Langdon. Robert Langdon.
Ah,
Yeah,
right. So I
and
think it's author.
it speaks about like the secrets of the church, the Roman Catholic
Hmm.
Church, or the meaning of it's kind of dark. It's kind of dark.
I bet. Didn't you say you were in seminary?
Yeah, I was in a seminary when I was in high school.
Ah, at
four
the
years.
same time you're reading Dan
Yeah.
Brown. Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's an interesting combo.
Yeah, nice combo there. And also, I think I also read um Diary of Anne Frank. That's one classic I've read that I really like.
Mm, I approve. Very good.
Very
It's
good
very
one.
good.
I tried reading The Hunger Games, but I didn't finish
Mm-hmm.
it because during that time it was the booming of the Hunger Games. That's
Uh,
when the movie got released, and also Twilight, the Twilight series. I never finished it. I just went into the start and then no,
like which you mean like you never finished the first book or the whole series?
the first book.
Eh, fair.
Like I
That's all
went
right.
only a few pages and then that's it. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's all right. I don't blame you. To be honest, it was a lot. It was just very fangirl
Yeah.
related. I mean,
That's right.
like I'm calling myself out because girl was obsessed. I will not lie. Oof, it was a dark time. But yeah, but I mean, to be honest with you, that's one of the. I thought all I had was historical fiction, and then I ran into Twilight, and that's kind of what hooked me to reading more, and then more to the point where it it simply was like the summary at the back was what I wanted to know more. So I don't know. It was just kind of like a great addition to what I was already reading because um, you don't just want to get stuck in one genre. But even if you are, it's fine. But it was good to like broaden my range there.
Right.
So
I think it
yeah,
all comes down to preferences,
yeah,
right? It also combines with your personality a
mm,
little bit, like who you are and what you're relating to.
yeah.
Now, what is your piece of advice? What's your best piece of advice to those readers or those people who might want to try books?
Hmm. Don't be like intimidated by the fact that there are very large books and then there are very short books. There are some things where you think you don't like reading because that's just maybe the kind of book you don't like to read. Like I enjoy watching true crime or like crime mystery thriller movies, fave. But I cannot for the life of me read them because I can't fall asleep until I know what happened. I'm like, it's taking so long. So like, I can't take like the girl on the train, like that was torture. I'm like, I need to finish this now to know. If not, I'm like in a state of suspense.
Right. I
So
also
like
felt that way when during my high school days, I was taking my exam. I would still read books before I would take my exam, like the books of Denver. I was reading a Vinci Code at that time during my
mm,
college day and entrance exam. That particular moment, like I would wake up, read multiple pages of it. It's like consuming your entire day just reading. Yeah, even you can't really fall asleep sometimes because you want to know it right away.
mm-mm.
I can
And the
totally,
movie's only an hour and you're like, well, that was faster, you
yeah.
know?
And I can imagine sometimes I would count how many pages I've read in an hour, and I'm impressed with myself. Sometimes I would read 100 pages. Oh my, I was able to
Mm,
reach this. Like it would really test your skills, your reading skills, and then your imagination. It,
yeah. Also,
it
it's
improves
based on
your,
interest as well.
yes.
Sometimes you really are just that interested that time doesn't mean anything and you can just fly by.
Right.
Yeah.
It also improves your overall reading ability. You're reading using your eyes, because I've seen some people they would read it silently, like they would really speak using their mouth. They would read rather using their mouth, and
Mm,
then as time progresses, they would just read through their eyes.
mm.
They're not reading anymore. They're speaking.
I
So
read somewhere that reading was more like hallucinating vividly
yeah,
because it kind of is actually when you think about it
yes, because
because a lot is
your
going on.
imagination.
Yeah, it's
You're
working.
correct. You're picturing out what's happening on a particular scene. Even just the characters itself. What are they like? What do their face look like? Their face, their build, their
Mhm.
personality. It's it's imaginative. It's creative.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. And what about being on YouTube? What's your advice for people who might want to try YouTube or might want to get a piece of content creation?
Mm. Well, first of all, find your niche, right? Because that's where your content pillar comes from. So your content pillar is like this huge basis of content information that only you know, and then you can take bits of that and create another video, an article, a post. So if it's just books, then you have one section just for book reviews. And if you happen to like it, you can put it in another video of like all of these. This is part of a video of other books I liked. And then at the end, it's like, these are all of the books I read this month. So that is your content pillar, like that. So you find your niche first. And then second of all, this is what was told to me by my cousin, because she also does YouTube. Um, she told me to be consistent and just start. So first of all, like, yeah, okay, maybe your first video isn't great. Like you said, a lot, you looked a bit twitchy, but it's the best you can do. So like, just put it out there, just start, and then you will obviously get more comfortable as time goes on, talking and moving around and speaking and like looking at stuff. You'll be fine. That takes practice. It takes time. You really can't speed that up, because if you're waiting for the perfect time, there's no perfect time, right?
Correct.
And then just be consistent. Like, make a calendar or a schedule that you can commit to, because like we talked about before, overcommitting sometimes and then you get burned out. But if that's just your process, that's your process. Pero, it helps to just go, take it like one step at a time. And then don't put pressure on yourself. Like, I have to have this many subscribers by this time. Like, that doesn't happen for a lot of people. You know,
Right.
just run your race.
Right. Excuse me. The the numbers. What I really learned about having the number of subscribers or having so many likes or having those social media counts, follows, it doesn't really matter. Right?
It
It
does.
doesn't really matter. I
It is just
had
an
the
anonymous person liking stuff.
yes, I had this dilemma. It really got into me at one point where I wasn't happy because I only got a lot just this kind of views, or I only got a number of listens. Uh it's it can be really devastating if you think about it. If you're thinking about it constantly, because it really destroys you if you're keeping on doing that or you're keeping on thinking about it. But one good thing is that my my friends or the people in my community, my co-podcasters, um they also set an example that numbers don't mean anything. It's what you really do that matters a lot, whether there's someone watching you or there's not, right?
Yeah.
It's happiness inside. That's what
Yeah,
really
and
matters. Right.
yeah, and at the same time, like, you might not be getting the views, but you're getting people who want to talk about it with you, like afterwards, or they leave comments. Those are the ones that matter, because they listen to you and they pay attention. You just have to find like your community, right? Like they said, your vibe attracts your tribe. So some eventually you will get the big tribe, or the important part is to get the right tribe for you, even if it doesn't mean the numbers, because the numbers are, it's, yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's an ego boost, and it's like, yeah, I have
Right.
this many subscribers. Like, let's be real, it feels great.
Right.
But at the same time, like, what is all those subscribers if you get one comment of someone who said, they took the time to really hear what you had to say? Are you sure that everyone is really listening to what you have to say?
Right.
Like, rather than just be the big number, at least just for me.
Correct. Uh, no matter how many subscribers you have, if you're not really impacting,
Mm-mm. The
it's
personal connections, right?
correct. It's kind of useless. It's kind of pointless after all. I want to go back with your niche as well, because when I first started, I didn't have any niche. I would go with your advice where just start, put out the content. If you don't know what your niche is, just talk about your interest, right?
Yes,
Your interest,
absolutely.
what you're interested in. When it comes to my podcast, I just found my niche eventually. I realized that it's more of a career story or it's more of a storytelling. It's because I keep on. Those are my interests, and it got developed over time. So that's it. That's for the niche, or that's how you start. Just put out your
Yeah,
content. Start by introducing yourself.
yeah, absolutely. Like, you never really know where you'll end up, anyways. Because sometimes you think you like something, but actually, you just kind of like it passively, you know? But what you're actually passionate about comes out later.
Correct. Wow. It is really meaningful. I like those pieces of advice. It is something that I'm really living as well. So I'm so happy that I hear those particular words from you. So I'm so proud and so happy to, you know, hear those kinds of words. Now, one more thing before we go is, where should we follow you on social media?
Oh, okay. So, you can find me at Chrissy Books and Berries on YouTube, and then See Books and Berries on Instagram.
Yeah, see books and berries on Instagram, and same thing on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Such a 6 years ago name.
Alright, so everybody, to all my listeners out there, please follow her on all accounts mentioned. Right? You will really learn a lot from her, for sure.
Huh. Thanks for having me. You're really great to
Yeah,
talk to.
thank you so much for being on, Chrissy. I really appreciate you, having this particular uh talk, spending this time together, and having meaningful conversation. Yeah.
Same. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. All right. See you.
Bye.